Tennessee and Auburn clash on a bright Saturday afternoon in late September. The game has generated strong national interest. It is correctly labeled the earliest showdown between Southeastern Conference championship contenders in the 1969 season. A live audience of 60,000 watches in beautiful Neyland Stadium at Knoxville or enjoy the exciting autumn spectacle on regional television. Early in the fourth quarter, Tennessee holds an 8-point lead, but the momentum of the game has switched toward Auburn. The Tigers are on the march. They have the ball 3rd and 2 at the ball 5-yard line. Benny Dalton, senior monster man who is starting his first game ever for Tennessee, crashes through on the key 3rd down play to slam Auburn's quarterback to the tartan turf for a 13-yard loss. Dalton's timely heroics turned the game around again and helped cement a Tennessee victory. The tackle by the spunky Wallen Tennessee senior was a big play that contributed vitally to the volunteer cause. There were other equally big plays in 1969. Bobby Major's 71-yard punt return for a second touchdown against Alabama. Perhaps the high point in a remarkable sophomore season by the youngest member of a famous football family. Mike Jones' pass interception, setting up a touchdown that enabled the Vols to take a 14-3 halftime lead into the dressing room at Georgia. Captain Bill Young's nifty pass interception and return for a touchdown that broke open a tight battle with Vanderbilt in the traditional season finale. Football is a game of inches. The inches add up to big plays. The big plays, in turn, produce victories. And finally, the victories combine to bring championships. For Tennessee's football team, the 1969 season was the year of the championship, the 8th Southeastern Conference championship in the school's proud gridiron history.
It's our privilege each year to give the seniors a nice piece of luggage.
The annual football banquet, always a festive occasion, but especially merry for a group of volunteers who will always remember 1969 as the season of their Southeastern Conference championship.
And we appreciate being here tonight to give you these awards. Thank you very much.
I'm particularly proud that we can have such a banquet in honor of the 1969 football team. This is certainly held in your honor, and you've accomplished many things. The most important thing I think you've accomplished is represented right here in this trophy, the Southeastern Conference Championship Trophy. It represents long hours of dedication. The thing that this trophy represents to you and to me and to everybody is the fact that you're the best in the Southeastern Conference. A lot of things went in to you being able to say, to call this your trophy and to have your name written on there, as is all the letterman's name written on that trophy. It took a lot of motivation. It took people that set their goals high and believed that they could accomplish those goals. It took people who prepared themselves mentally, physically, and spiritually to get that job done. But in the final analysis, it took people that could rise to the occasion to get the job done and to win the game. Now, the football banquet is certainly held in honor of the whole team, but it's also held especially, I think, to recognize the seniors and to give one last, maybe thank you or pay one last tribute to the guys who have served as leaders on the team. I think we've been very fortunate to have a great group of seniors. Matter of fact, not many seniors anywhere else in the country can say that they have been a part of a team that has won the Southeastern Conference Championship 2 out of the last 3 years, that they have played on the winningest team in college football for the last 5 years. They've been part of a team that has won 8 or more games for 5 years in a row. Nobody else in the country at any banquet can say that in Major College. I think that's quite a tribute to these young men. They've played in 3 bowl games while they were here. They never lost to Alabama. To these seniors, I'd just like to say, gentlemen, I genuinely thank you for the contribution that you've made to the University of Tennessee. You have done a wonderful job since you've been here. You've been a winner since you've been here at the University of Tennessee, and I know that when you leave the university that you'll continue to be a winner out in your community and make this country a better place to live. And it's a real pleasure to have been associated with you. Thank you.
Ball captain Bill Young of Knoxville offers some indication of what it means to be a part of Tennessee's winning tradition.
But it's hard to express what it does mean to us, I think, to play football at the University of Tennessee. I remember when I was in high school, I didn't have a big choice where I'd go to school, but there was never any doubt I would come to the University of Tennessee, and I've not been disappointed since I've been here. I think the players on the team itself, the coaches and everything, were the greatest anywhere. I know I've made many friends here that will mean a whole lot to me in the future and many pleasant memories. You know, I said, well, the season's about over, but we've still got a few more games, and then they kept going away and going away. And finally it came to, you know, the end of the season, no more games, no more bowl games. And then I started to say, well, we got a football banquet to go yet, but it's not all over yet. And this looks like it's it. And I'm sure most other seniors feel as I do. Excuse me a second. I hate to go in the worst way, because it truly has been the most meaningful experience of my life. Thank you.
Even before practice began in late August, Vol coaches stressed the importance a seasoned defense would assume, particularly in early games. The inexperienced offense would require time to develop the cohesion and teamwork necessary for a consistent performance. The defense, on the other hand, was headed by a gang of veterans who were wise in the ways of Southeastern Conference warfare. The linebackers ranked with the best in the nation. Steve Kiner and Jack Reynolds, both of whom were to be honored as first-team All-Americas, typified the spirit of the defensive unit. Even as seniors, they continued to hustle every moment, in practice as well as on Saturday afternoons. Senior tackles Steve Carroll and Frank Yanessi, and ends Vic Dingus and James Woody applied stern pressure to the opposing backfield. A quick reacting defensive backfield that included junior Tim Priest and seniors Bill Young and Mike Jones played a key role in a school record 30 pass interceptions. Benny Dalton stepped in at the demanding monster position and brought to the job cunning and skills that enabled him to rank with the best men ever to hold that job at Tennessee. Opponents spoke respectfully before the season began of Tennessee's 2 great linebackers. But as the season ran its course, they expanded the number to 3 to include Jackie Walker, a sophomore cut from the same mold as other Vol linebackers who have achieved all-star recognition. Challenged by their coaches to institute a holding action while their teammates on offense matured, the defense responded beyond the fondest expectations. In the first 5 games, they produced 16 plays, which led directly to a Tennessee score. They intercepted passes, recovered fumbles, or returned punts to set up 14 touchdowns and 2 field goals. Alertness on the part of the defense thus paved the way for an average of better than 20 points for each of the first 5 games. The offense, although young and lacking in experience, seized eagerly on its opportunities. It capitalized on opponents' mistakes and drove for points twice against Chattanooga, 4 times against Auburn, 5 times against Alabama. A brand new backfield, introduced to the rugged demands of major college football, responded superbly to the task at hand. Quarterback Bobby Scott passed accurately, long or short. And when the occasion called for it, he ran the ball with determination. Don McLeary was a pleasant surprise at tailback. Seldom played as a sophomore, the junior from Jackson became a fine all-round back, delivering his blocks with as much gusto as he showed in running the football. Speedy Lester McLean at wingback was a constant threat on the receiving end of the bomb. Here we see the Nashville junior against Memphis State, latching on to a touchdown pass from Bobby Scott that covered 82 yards, a school record. Tennessee's multiple T attack was powered by Kurt Watson, who many observers expect to become the greatest runner in Vol history. Speed, balance, power, quickness. The sophomore from Crossville combined them in generous quantities. Breaking tackle after tackle, Watson rushed for 807 yards, including a record-shattering 197 against Georgia. He was first-team All-SEC and landed a first-team berth on the All-America sophomore team. Veteran ends exercised a stabilizing influence on the offense. Split end Gary Chris, benefiting from a late-season pass-catching spurt, had 38 receptions in all, many of them in critical situations. Tight end Ken DeLong, brother of former All-America lineman Steve DeLong, was a sure-handed receiver who ran up a string of 23 straight games in which he caught at least 1 pass. Across the line of scrimmage, blocking was frequently devastating as sophomores and juniors mastered their assignments in the intricate Tennessee system. Tackles Steve Robinson and Joe Balthrop, guards Chip Kell and Don Denbo, and center Mike Bevins opened holes through which Watson, McLeary, and other Vol backs blasted goalward. Kell, a 246-pound bruiser who is possibly the strongest man ever to wear the orange and white, became in his junior year a consensus All-America and winner of the Jacobs Trophy. A sound kicking game is an indispensable ingredient in a championship season. Herman Weaver, in his 3rd season as the Vol punter, averaged 41 yards a kick and frequently left Tennessee opponents bottled up in precarious straits. Place kicker George Hunt, who has 2 more years ahead of him, was a gem of consistency. He made good on 10 of 13 field goal attempts and connected on 35 of 38 extra point kicks. With 65 points to his credit, Hunt was Tennessee's leading scorer. The Volunteers' march to the championship was tied to success in 4 key games, beginning with a 45-19 victory over Auburn. The September 27 game at Neyland Stadium followed a shakedown cruise against Chattanooga that revealed flaws of execution which would require correction before the Vols could be considered a contender in Southeastern Conference championship competition. Sophomore fullback Kurt Watson scores from the 11 to climax an 80-yard Vol drive opening the game. Halfback Mike Jones intercepts an Auburn pass and returns it to the Auburn 15. Setting up a second score to stretch the Vol lead to 14-0. Auburn's John Riley kicks a 56-yard field goal for a new SEC record. Tennessee's third touchdown is highlighted by this sensational run by fullback Kurt Watson. And this pass from Bobby Scott to tight end Ken DeLong gives Tennessee a 21-3 lead. Tennessee fights off an Auburn comeback bid and ices the SEC victory with a 33-yard strike from Scott to Gary Chris. Tennessee comes up with 6 interceptions in a 45-19 victory over Auburn. Dixie's most hallowed football rivalry is Tennessee against Alabama. The immortality of some of the game's greatest heroes is tied to their performances in this storied series. A crowd of 70,000 at Birmingham's Legion Field, including 12,000 Tennesseans, watches the confrontation of the two traditional Southern powers. This is to be Tennessee's day. Powerful Kurt Watson lowers his head and splinters the Tide defense. Tailback Don McLeary follows Watson's run with a nifty jaunt of his own, giving Alabama a sample of the Vols' outstanding 1-2 running punch. Tennessee hits the scoreboard on a pass from Bobby Scott to dependable wide receiver Gary Chris. Bobby Major's 72-yard punt return sets the Vols on fire and leads to one of the most convincing triumphs ever over the Crimson Tide. Vicious defensive play by Steve Kiner, who was named National Lineman of the Week, contributes as much to the victory as the smoothly functioning offense. Here we see Kiner, who is having a virtuoso performance, hauling in an interception in another play that further crushes Alabama's dream of victory. The quickness of Jackie Walker is apparent in this mid-air steal of a fumble and subsequent return for still another Vol touchdown. A brilliant performance, both offensively and defensively, gives Tennessee a 41-14 victory over the Crimson Tide. The next major test comes against Georgia. The Vols not only must face the team that is picked to win the Southeastern Conference Championship, but must also overcome the disadvantage of playing between the hedges, as they say of Athens Sanford Stadium. Georgia had not lost a home game since 1965, and there's a strong tradition that visitors shall return home their heads bowed in defeat. But such is not to be the case on this dreary November Saturday in 1969. After a Vol fumble at the 10, Jim McCullough puts the Bulldogs ahead with a 22-yard field goal in the first quarter. Vol fullback Kurt Watson breaks a tackle and gets clear for 49 yards. A pass from Bobby Scott to Lester McLean sets a Tennessee scoring drive in motion. Don McLeary scores from the 1 with 4.5 minutes left in the half to climax a 66-yard drive and put Tennessee on top, 7-3. Mike Jones' interception one play later puts Tennessee in business again at the Bulldog 27. After two nifty runs by Watson and McLeary, Watson scores from the 3, and Tennessee leads 14-3. The third quarter includes some spectacular defensive play by the fired-up Vols, such as this play that forced a Georgia punt. George Hunt's 38-yard field goal in the fourth quarter puts Tennessee ahead 17-3 with just under 8 minutes left. Kurt Watson sets a new school rushing record of 197 yards as Tennessee stays undefeated with a 17-3 victory over Georgia. Finally, the season and the dream of a conference championship boils down to the traditional closing game with Vanderbilt. Playing at home before some 60,000 fans, the Vols are fired to a sharp performance as they realize their second SEC title in 3 years will be the reward for a victory over the Commodores. Lester McLean races into the end zone, turns, and takes a perfectly thrown pass from Bobby Scott as UT moves out to a 7-0 lead. Bobby Majors continues his brilliant punt return artistry as he lugs the ball from his own 48 into Vanderbilt's scoring territory. Majors, playing at wingback, makes some nifty moves again as he catches a second quarter pass from Scott and squirms to the Vandy 15. This 72-yard scoring drive was climaxed by Bobby Scott's sprint into the end zone. The key play of the game is this pass interception and return for a touchdown by safety Bill Young. From this point, the Vols are in command of the situation. playing at a fever pitch now. As they realize the conference championship is within their grasp, the Vols swarm into the end zone to throw the Commodores for a safety. Tennessee's terrific sophomore runner, Kurt Watson, puts on a burst of speed as he sweeps in for another Vol touchdown. Reserve fullback Steve Wold breaks loose, but he makes the mistake of ignoring Satchel Paige's age-old advice never to look back, and is hauled down at the Vandy 1. Even though he failed to score, Wold is credited with the longest run of the season, 82 yards. And now, Bill Battle, new head coach of the Volunteers, talks about the winning tradition at Tennessee.
It is a great challenge and opportunity for me to have been entrusted with the leadership of the University of Tennessee football program. It is my goal and the goal of our coaching staff to maintain the rich tradition of Tennessee football that was set in motion more than 40 years ago by General Robert R. Neyland. I would like to assure any young man who is making the decision of which college to attend that the University of Tennessee will offer him unlimited opportunities in the classroom, on the football field, and in his career after graduation. I'm looking forward with great anticipation to the future of our Tennessee football program.